I don't mean to worry you, but I don't know if I'll ever be okay again. This book ripped my little heart out and tore it to shreds. I don't know how to function anymore. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to be because of this book. Have you ever had your heart broken by a stack of paper bound up together? Because I have. I have. My Darling Dreadful Thing. What a fitting title. Lucky for me though, I will never be left truly in the dark thanks to this video's sponsor, Serious Readers. Serious Readers make serious lights, and I had my heart broken by My Darling Dreadful Thing while sitting in the glow of my Serious Light. See, Serious Lights use daylight wavelength technology, which replicates the daylight spectrum as closely as technically possible. And what that means is that you feel like you have a sun hovering above you as you read, but in a nice, cozy, warm way, not a burn you to a crisp kind of a way. The glow of this thing is so all-consuming that I, as someone with ADHD, am able to maintain a much stronger focus on what I read than I ever would be normally. I'm so glad that my Serious Light was there for me when I was having my heart broken by a novel. It made me feel less alone. Thank you. So click the link in the description and use the offer code WILLOW24 to get £100 off your own Serious Light. So why did My Darling Dreadful Thing have such an intense effect on my little black emo heart? Well, this is one of the only modern Gothic novels that I have ever read which truly understands what it means to be Gothic. This is a dark tale about a haunted house, about ghosts, about toxic people doing very dangerous and frightening and unhinged things in the name of affection and obsession. Johanna van Veen is a Dutch author who wrote this novel in English and who clearly has a full and fluid grasp of what the Gothic really is and how Gothic stories can break our hearts. It is also queer as hell, and every good Gothic novel is queer, at least in its tone and its style. There are queer readings that you can do of certain books. You can often feel the queer energy, the queer vibes in a Gothic story, and I argue that you should be able to. But this one is explicitly gay as hell, and I so appreciate it for that. This is a wonderful, sapphic, heartbreaking Gothic novel. Also, side note, some guy is doing something upstairs and it's making a lot of noise. If you can hear it, I apologize. So what's it about? Well, My Darling Dreadful Thing is set in the 1950s in the Netherlands, and our protagonist is a young woman called Roos Beckman who is just on the edge between childhood and adulthood. She has been working as a kind of spirit medium for her own mother for quite a while now. Roos genuinely has a spirit companion named Ruth who is attached to her. And whether her mother believes her or not, she uses this as an opportunity to con people through seances. Roos's mother performs seances for gullible people. Ruth will then come along and possess Roos, and together they put on a show where the vulnerable and gullible customers truly believe that they are speaking to their loved ones from across the veil. None of it is real, except that it kind of is, because Ruth is a real ghost, but she's the only one. Early in the novel, a young widow comes along named Agnes. She lost her husband less than a year ago, and while she's there, she forms a kind of immediate attachment to Roos, and she actually pays her mother to take her away. And so off Roos goes. She is now free of her mother, and she is a companion to Agnes. She moves into her crumbling and dilapidated country estate, where Agnes reveals that she has her own spirit companion. And so we have two young women, one of whom has been abused by her mother, and the other is a widow, both of whom have spirit companions, living together in a crumbling house and slowly falling in love, for better or worse. Over the course of the novel, we learn about Agnes, we learn about her marriage, and Ruse kind of gets the wrong end of the stick. She starts to understand that while she is feeling so much for Agnes and believes that Agnes might love her as well, Agnes is truly mourning the loss of this man, and Ruse wants to find a way to reunite them. She will do anything for Agnes. And since she has a spirit companion, she wonders if she can use some kind of power or circumstance to conjure Agnes's late husband, because she clearly misses him so much. Ruse just wants to make Agnes happy. Can she raise him from the dead? Can she conjure his ghost? Can she do something to reunite the woman that she is falling in love with her own late husband, whom she is clearly in agony over the loss of? Maybe. I don't want to tell you where it goes, because this is a dark tale of heartbreak. Not only that, but between many of the chapters, we flash forward to an interview with Ruse. A psychologist is conducting a series of daily interviews because Ruse is awaiting trial. Something terrible happened in this house. These interviews are taking place a little while after the events of the story. We know that from the get-go. We know that something terrible will happen in this house. For a start, they're not alone. Agnes's late husband's sister lives with them, and she is very sick with tuberculosis. She's an angry and hateful woman. And as we read these interviews, we wonder what Ruse did, what Agnes did, what exactly happened here. Is it connected to this sick woman? Will somebody die? Probably. I mean, it's a gothic romance. What sickness, what darkness, what death is awaiting us in this novel? I'm not going to tell you, but I will say that as you read these interview sections between the chapters, you learn a very sad truth about how the story will end, and you learn it early on. So early on that if I revealed it to you now, it probably wouldn't be a spoiler, but I'm still not going to. I want you to enjoy as much of this as you can on your own, and you really, really should. What makes My Darling Dreadful Thing such a work of intense heartbreak is how much it leans into gothic tropes. The fact that these two women are falling in love, but are so broken by grief, by trauma, by abuse. They are not doing okay, and they are leaning on each other. They are falling into each other's arms, but it is such an unhealthy and toxic circumstance because they both need help. But this is the 1950s, and therapy only exists in such a limited capacity, if at all. This is a gothic story because these are gothic characters in a gothic relationship. They are in an isolated space that feels kind of unknowable and labyrinthine. There are ghosts haunting them, but they're ghosts that these women know and are familiar with. Ruth, the ghost, is a companion of Ruse. She's obsessed with her. She loves her. And there's also the wonderful fact that Ruth looks disgusting. She is a half-rotted corpse in ghost form. Her jaw hangs off her face, and Ruse often kisses her on that jaw, and the way it's depicted makes your skin crawl. She's half decomposed. She's hanging on by threads. It's really nasty. But Ruse doesn't see Ruth that way, and she is the only person who can see her. She sees beauty in Ruth. She feels her warmth and her companionship, despite the fact that she's actually a cold and calculating ghost. Their relationship is also incredibly dangerous and toxic. The fact that Ruth can literally possess Ruse means that she can make Ruse's body do things against its own will. And you always know that that's true, that that could happen at any moment, and it does. Of course it does. It's a Chekhov's gun situation. Ruse at any moment can be a physical puppet for Ruth, and we wait for it to happen and we wonder how it will happen and to what end. A dark and twisted ghost has latched itself onto a very traumatized young woman, and the young woman believes that they have a special bond, an almost romantic love, a sisterly attachment, an attachment that goes so deep and so far. But at the same time, Ruse is falling in love with Agnes, who is also tortured and damaged, and as far as we can tell, at least at first, desperately misses her husband. And by the way, how did he die? Why did he die? Are there secrets to do with his death? Are there secrets to do with his life? his relationship to Agnes, his house, his sister who is still there. Yes to all of it. There is so much mystery and intrigue here. Every single Gothic checkbox is being ticked off so neatly and in such an original way. The toxicity, the physical space, the labyrinthine nature of it, the dark mysteries that are unfolded as you turn the page. There is isolation and drama. These people are broken, and I had my heart broken by them over and over and over again. This book ripped into me, and at the halfway point, an event happens that is truly unsettling. It moves from just being a Gothic romance to a Gothic horror in that moment. There are scary and dark and dreary and bleak elements to it. You can expect that. It is a Gothic novel, but it is balanced on a knife edge between romance and horror. That is its Gothic purity, its Gothic twistedness. I am so in love with this book. It ruined me, it ripped my heart out, it tore it to shreds, and now I have to go on living in spite of the fact that I read this book and it has forever changed me. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. How dare this book have such a profound effect on my brittle little heart? And now I just have to carry on living my life. That is true heartbreak. What an incredible thing. Subscribe for books.